Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I wanna know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about, let's talk about, yeah. Let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Happy Monday. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host. And Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I call Mindset Monday. Mindset Monday is an opportunity for you, me, and my guests to talk about whatever it is we want to talk about. And today we are talking about youth empowerment. Yes. Something for the youth. July is National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we're going to be talking about the use of color. I addressed that this morning on my segment, my Mindful Moment segment on the Michael Cork morning show, Hallelujah 95.3 FM here in Tallahassee. And so we're going to do an extension of that and so much more. So my very special guest is, he goes by LJ, but LaDarius Gammage. And we are going to have a great conversation. So tag a friend, let them know they need to be on here. This is an opportunity for us to engage with one another. This is a safe space for us to communicate. And we are all about encouraging folks of color to get their checkup from the neck up and be their best selves mentally, physically, emotionally, all of these, right? So I want you to let us know before I bring LaDarius on, LJ on. I want to know where you are tuning in from. Let us know in the comments. We are live on Conversations with Nicole Facebook, Conversations with Nicole YouTube. Greater Works Network on Roku put us down today, but that's okay. We still rolling. So let us know where you're tuning in from. Put your city and your state in the comments, and we want to give you a shout out. So I see my sister Shayla down in South Florida. Thank you for being here, y'all. It's my blood sister, my sister for real. Thank you for being here, Miss Maya, my Tallahassee sister from DOH. Thank you for being here. Also, we got McKinley in the house. He is a CWN alum. I think that was season 7, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you for being here, McKinley, here in Tallahassee. Mom checking in from the 305. Thank you, Mama. Appreciate you. Eureka Fields in Hardyville, South Carolina. Thank you for being here. Benicia Hires, who is also a CWN alum from our live show. She was on last month for Men's Health Month, talking about Black men and mental health in Tallahassee. Thank you for being here. McKinley Hometown 850, appreciate you. And we got Miss Beverly Toombs, who also has been my guest on. She is an occupational therapist here in Tallahassee. Thank you for being here. And my homeboy and friend, Mr. Alex Williams in Miami. Thank you for being here as well. Kima Fields in Charlotte, North Carolina, here to support my fiance, LG. All right, you better go in and claim your man, girl. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here, Kima. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we are getting ready to get started. I know there will be some others that join us momentarily. So again, tag, like, tag, share, let folks know they need to be on here and involved in this conversation. LaCarsha Houston from Pensacola, thank you for being here. And we got Tracy Golay. She's usually between here and Pensacola. Thank you for being here, Tracy. Appreciate your support. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to read some of LaDarius's bio. LaDarius Gammage is currently pursuing his doctorate in public health at the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. Sandy Rattler's in the house. He obtained his master's in public health from FAMU back in 2016. He serves as a mentor for youth and as a youth engagement specialist that provides skills building workshops to help develop and prepare the leaders of tomorrow in his community. He currently presides as a senior associate of Indelible Solutions and recently transitioned from being the environmental approaches section administrator for the Bureau of Chronic Disease Prevention and the State Health Equity and Special Projects Coordinator for the Bureau of Tobacco Free Florida. Say that real fast 3 times. At the Florida Department of Health. In that position, he assisted local BTFF providers, minority health liaisons, and state partners on multiple assignments to help improve the health and well-being of women, children, families, and communities in Florida. Another position he held was the statewide youth advocacy coordinator at the Department of Health for students working against tobacco, also known as SWAT. As the statewide provider manager for SWAT, every day LJ worked with talented youth and excellent local county coordinators to decrease, the inhaled nicotine rate for youth within Florida. Again, he worked with county coordinators to decrease the inhaled nicotine rate of youth within Florida. In his current work, he serves the state of Florida and Georgia on many community health initiatives and projects, and ultimately, he wishes to reduce health disparities and increase the promotion of health equity. Y'all help me welcome LJ. Yes.
Hello.
Hey.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm just so flattered and honored to be here right now.
Oh
So
my
thank you.
gosh. So yeah, let me tell you about this brother. Let me tell you about this brother. So, for those of you who know about two-step Tuesdays and Thursdays at the pavilion pre-COVID, this brother used to be there. I thought he was a little weird at first, because he'd be just kind of hanging around. And so we finally had a conversation. I was like, okay, all right, I see what you got going on. That's cool. I could get with that. I could get with that. So yeah, no, he is fangirling your girl right now. And I'm like, bruh, please. It's just me. It's just Nicole. Listen, but I appreciate you. So, in the fashion that I do, I want you to tell the peoples who is LaDarius LJ Gammage, not what you do, but who are you in your own words.
Own words, I'm just a passionate and determined young man. Um, I am the son of Tamisha Gaskin, John Daring Jr. I gotta also shout out my stepfather, Charles E. Gaskin, and also my stepmother, Cassandra Daring. I'm just a young man that's passionate. I'm passionate about, making a difference in the world. I am one of those people that really feel like one man can make a difference, and I know it can't be made by myself. So I always try to work hard with a team of people, and I always try to make sure that, we get the job done and we have a great job doing it, a great time doing it. Sorry.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you here and so excited to be talking about this topic of youth empowerment tonight. So, my sister's clapping it up for you. Maya saying welcome. My cousin Whit is here from Portsmouth, Virginia. Thank you for being here, cousin Whit. I appreciate you. So, we're going to have a good time tonight. So, youth empowerment. Youth empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
What's that all about? Why we need to get a youth some power?
Uh, well, forgive me because I am a preacher. So yesterday I had to preach a sermon.
That ain't nothing to be asking for forgiveness for. Come on.
And one of the things that the Lord put on my heart to tell the congregation yesterday is, so many times or so many days out of our lives, we spend so much time looking at the TV, fussing at the TV about who's running in what election, what policies, what commissioner, governor, or whatnot is trying to push.
Come on now.
And we spend so much time looking at the TV that we forget that we got the future running around our house.
Mm,
And young people are our future. And and I think that Nicole, me and you had a conversation previously about young people and how they're forced to grow up early.
mm-hmm,
And some people look at that as a negative space, some people look at that as a negative aspect, but for me and the whole identity of youth empowerment, it is a positive aspect, and it can be a positive affirmation for their future. Because if one, we identify them as the future, we can begin to treat them as the future, we can begin to educate them for the future. And instead of worrying about the economy all the time, we can raise up the next economist in our house. Instead of
mm,
worrying about this politician and everything they're doing wrong, we can sit them down and tell them, son and daughter, this is everything right that I need you to do when you grow up. Because
mm,
the reason why I'm here today is because my mother, Tamisha Gaskin, used to speak transfer affirmations over my life, and it transformed me. She used to tell me all the time, son, I want you to be a boss. Son, I want you to be a doctor. Son, I
mm.
want you to go out there and change the world. And now my mother is able to look at me and smile, and I'm able to tell her, do you remember what you told me?
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. No, that's very powerful.
Hmm.
Let me give a shout out to my girlfriend Susan in Virginia. Thank you for being here. So, question, and this I'm throwing this out here to the viewers. How many of you, by show of hands, and you can do that in the comments, wave your hand, give us a thumbs up, a church finger, whatever. How many of you had parents or family members to affirm you in the way that LJ just mentioned? How many of you had parents or family members or maybe adult friends as youth, or maybe a counselor or a teacher to affirm you in the way that LJ mentioned? Let us know in the comments if you don't mind. Again, this is a safe space for us to communicate, no judgment. It's all in love, truth and love tonight. All right. So they are saying preach. Maya said, fresh out the gate, you have spoken the word already. Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. So, all right. So, folks are chiming in. My sister, yes. Tracy, thumbs up. Okay, very good. And that's good to hear. But sometimes children are not affirmed in a
Hmm.
positive way,
Right.
and that can be damaging.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mhm. So we've got to maybe change some of that narrative. I know, maybe some of us that are up in age may have been raised up that children are to be seen and not heard,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you know, not to interject themselves in grown folks' conversations,
Hmm.
and all of these things, right? All of these nuances, and I'm not saying that those things don't have their place. But I think maybe sometimes children are maybe disrespected by
Hmm.
adults
Hmm. Absolutely.
because they are little people. And because they are little people and don't have a lot of years behind them, maybe their voice is challenged or their voice goes unheard, or they are not affirmed.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, what I have to say to that, I happen to work with so many different organizations working with youth.
Hmm.
Just to name a few, as I just mentioned, I'm a youth pastor. I'm the youth pastor at First Missionary Baptist Church in Thomasville, Georgia.
Okay.
I used to work with SWAT for 6 years, students working against tobacco, officer statewide lead. So I
Hmm.
worked with the executive board more closely, but I still made contact with youth in the local counties. Um, I work with Alpha Educational Leadership Foundation. I've been the head coordinator um, for the last 4 years, working with the middle school program, which is the Alpha program for higher achievement. I also sometimes substitute and work with the um, the elementary school kids and the high school kids. But I also do, after school programs such as She Academy and whatnot. And really, I'm just telling you to give you my background and my experience with talking with kids before I even answer this comment.
Hmm.
Now, the thing is, we live in 2023.
Yep.
Everybody has a smartphone. You got kids that are 8 years old, that 6 years old. my friend, my homegirl, who stays down in Miami, she told me she had to get her son a phone or a watch where he could communicate with them, because sometimes, transportation and whatnot and situations and car break, it doesn't matter. Everybody has smart technology at their disposal.
Mhm.
These young people, the things that they're being shown on the internet, the things that they're being shown on TV, the encounters that they're having, because you can only shelter children for so long. It's
Mm.
real out here. And and the worst thing we can do is not affirm our children, because they have all these different emotions going on within them, and
Mm.
they're asking themselves why. Like, I need answers to these emotions, I need answers to these feelings, I need answers to this thinking that I'm doing right now. So the worst thing that we can do, and I reckon in the next couple of years, since we're all talking about mental health, and I'm
Mm.
gonna put it out there, that not affirming your children is going to be deemed as a form of abuse in the upcoming years. I just feel that for some reason. So I'm going to say that.
Mm.
So the best thing, so I'm a, I was raised by the old school and the new school, so I'm going to walk in this territory real carefully with these next few words based on what
Tread,
you just said.
tread lightly, tread lightly.
So yes, it is a child's place to not be in grown folks conversations.
Mm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, it's a child's place to be seen and not heard all the time. Let me say that.
Okay.
But that does not take away the responsibility of the parent to prepare the child for the real world.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
does not take away the responsibility for the parent to prepare the child to do more and better and exceedingly things than they were able to accomplish.
Okay.
Because what we notice is, when you don't train up a child to be successful in the world, the child begins to look at everybody else around them, and they begin to say, hey, like, I see your relationship with your parents, I see what you're doing, like, who taught you this? And then if they have those conversations with their friends, and their friends are starting to tell them that their parents taught them this, or so and so taught them this, and then they go back home, that's their moment when they realize that my parent doesn't have it all the way together.
Mhm.
And that's when they begin to disconnect and stop listening to that parent. Now, I'm not trying to tell any parent to, like, put on a charade or whatever, but the thing is, let's build our children up together. You
Right.
have people such as me within the community. You have people such as Shaquaylin Shedrick in the community. You have people such as Fransley Moyes in the community. You have these different after school programs such as Alpha Educational Leadership Foundation. I would name other ones, but I gotta be a little bit biased right now. But there's all these other after school programs out there. The best thing that you can do in life is set your children up for success, because we want our kids to go to college,
Mhm.
especially in the African American community. But if we don't put them in organizations right now to give them that exposure, then we're only hurting them more than training them up the right way.
Mm.
And sometimes you meet kids. I'm sorry, give me one more
Go
second. And
ahead.
sometimes
Go
you
ahead.
meet, kids, because sometimes when I go speak in the community and I meet kids that say, "Hey, I want to be a part of your organization."
Mhm.
So even to the parents right now, or the aunties and uncles or whatnot, if you begin to see the potential in a child, please get them in a program.
Agreed. 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 So before I respond, I want to give a shout out to Keosha Forston, who's here in Tallahassee joining us, as well as Mr. Warren Cave, who is also here in Tallahassee joining us. Thank you both for being here, and Stephanie Wilson, of course, as well. So you said a lot in those last comments, but I do believe that yes, we do need to, as I stated, be affirming our children. And like you said, when you see maybe their gifts and talents shining through, then we need to support them in that, right? So maybe that is more exposure if, they are taking a liking to a particular activity, whether that's, it could be they're interested in rocks, or, you know, they take things apart and put them back together, or, they might be good with their hands, or they might like to cook, or, you just never know, right? And so definitely one of the things that I talk about often as it relates to what human beings need, period, and that is exposure and support, because I think oftentimes that exposure helps us tap into who we really are, right? Because we get to explore, we get to go outside of our environment and really, see the world. And then once they've been exposed to that thing that, gets them excited, or that's you might see this light shine, then we need to support them in that, right? Whether that is connecting them with a tutor, or organization is doing some of these activities that they like to be in, or a mentor. So, if we can't support them from the standpoint of showing them the way of whatever that activity is, then connect them with somebody who can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of what you're talking about with the organizations that you mentioned, right?
Absolutely. And and the one thing that I did forget to mention is also it's time to start having conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, um, in the past, what some people used to say is if you don't make them a priority, somebody on the street would.
Mm-hmm.
The drug dealers, whomever, will make them a priority. So, and sometimes when I'm working with you, what I realize is some of them just want somebody to just listen to them
Mm-hmm.
and just hear them out. And, because they are, because God behold, if I could tell the truth right now, when I first became a youth minister, I said to myself, kids, what problems do kids have? Like, they don't pay bills. I That was very ignorant of me. But when I became that statewide coordinator for SWAT, it taught me the empathy I needed. It taught me the sympathy I needed. It taught me the active listening I needed, the patience I needed, the understanding I needed to work with young people, especially talented young people,
Mm-hmm.
or just young people in general, young people coming from low socioeconomic status communities. They deal with a lot of things. They have to grow up a lot early. And one of the best things that you can do for some of those children coming out of those low SES communities, I really want to say a different word, um, is tell them like, yo, you're really smarter than you believe. You're really more talented than what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to stop them sometimes and tell them like, what do you mean? Girl, you know how to balance a checkbook. You don't give up. And then that's how you can make them grow right there, because now you're able to have that relationship where you're able to feed them those vocabulary words and tell them that, you know what, you got a mind of resiliency. And they say, what's that? And then you can build upon it.
Yes. Yes, no, great points. Actually, you touched on some of the things that I discussed on the radio show this morning. The article that I referenced talked about how trauma can impact, and poverty can impact the life of youth, specifically youth of color, especially since this is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And you're right. It's like, um, if you can give them that support, if you can give them that encouragement, and if you can help with the healing of the trauma, that will go a long way, right? Not
Mhm.
just about the diagnosis, not just about the medicine that could be prescribed, right? But really getting to the root cause of what happened, what's going on, and how can you be heard? How can you be seen? How can you be healed, right? Healing is so important, so important. I think the difference between maybe past generations and eras versus now is our communities aren't as close knit in physical proximity as they once were,
Mhm.
right? And while folks were poor back then, maybe didn't have a whole lot of means, they had a whole lot of love. And not to
Right.
say that we don't have love today, but because we were in proximity to one another, it was a village mentality, right? In
Mhm.
terms of, it was not only your parents or your family of origin, but it was the neighbor down the street, it was your teachers, it was your preachers, or your Sunday school teachers, or the janitor at the school, right?
Right.
Everybody in the community had a what I feel like was a vested interest in making sure this child succeed.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, that's still the case now. But just like how you said, some people are uncomfortable with having conversations, Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you never know. Like, and what I gotta elaborate on that is some people don't feel like family, even though you might feel like they are family.
Yeah.
And so now, um, and that's what I'm saying about when you empower youth, like, as a youth mentor, as a youth pastor, I make it my responsibility to connect with parents, because I don't want the child just to see me as Pastor Gammage or
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Gammage. At some point, sometimes I want them to think of me as Uncle LJ or Uncle LaDarius, a
Mm-hmm.
friend to the family where I can come around.
Right.
And sometimes, it doesn't necessarily have to be me. Neighbors can talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And what I feel like the black community has lost, and that's why it's important that we empower our youth, because when we do that, we empower the community. Watch this. If we see that, like how I said, the child has that potential, reach out,
Mm-hmm.
pull them along. The reason why I'm a pastor right now is not because my mother and father went to church every Sunday. The reason why I'm a pastor today is because of God, one, but also I had uncles and aunties and grandparents that kept saying, you know what, I want my baby in church.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm blessed, and I got to shout them out. I'm blessed to have Katie Guyden and Curtis Guyden and Millage Hill and Louette Hill and Margaret Saunders. I got to call them out. I got to call out the people who made sure that, you know what, I want my nephew participating in this,
Mm-hmm.
because you know what, it brings them joy to see their investment has made full circle. Now,
Yes.
for anybody that's listening to this conversation right now, what I'm saying is not necessarily take the kids to church. I hope you take them to church.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to, if go fishing, you see you and your sons are ready to go fishing. See if you can bring your nephew and niece along fishing. See if you can take them riding on the four wheelers and the trikes and all that type of stuff. See if you can take them on fun adventures. Because when we begin to reach people like that, we begin to teach people how to love.
So you again have said a whole word. I recently was visiting with my great uncle in Virginia, and my uncle and my aunt, and a neighbor 2 doors down from them came, young guy, 20 years old. But he talked about how my uncle would invite him to come to church with them. And he so looked forward to going to church with them. And he, was a little kid, but he remembers that. And as a result, he's kind of adopted them as this, their his family, his adoptive family, if you will, because they were instilling in him some things that he was not getting at home. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what you're saying in terms of like bring the other children along if you can, so that they can be exposed to, some other experiences and realize, the greatness that is within them. So you are spot on. My mom said, Pastor, you are right. All right, I gotta give a few shouts out. I saw my cousin Denise in Texas is here. Thank you for being here. We got Michael Cork in the house. Thank you for being here, my brother. And Sister Abeniche is with us as well. And I think this is Miss Doris Strong. Thank you for being here, Miss Doris. Appreciate you. She's right here in Tallahassee. All right, so we are like right at the halfway mark. So I want to, while I'm pausing for the cause, for those of you who are just joining us, I am on with LaDarius J. Gammage, and we're talking about youth empowerment. He is a youth pastor. I'm gonna call him a youth worker because he has worked with youth for many years, and he's currently working on his PhD at the Florida Agriculture and Mechanical University, getting his doctorate in public health. And what are we doing that doctorate on? What's our course of study? If you could just tell us a little bit, not
Yeah,
all these
it's
studies.
it's it's in public health. It's in behavioral sciences and health education. But my dissertation is on youth empowerment.
Well, there you go. Boom. So perfect. All right. So we just helping them practice, y'all. We helping them practice. So y'all bring y'all questions. Put y'all's questions in the comments to help him
Come
with
on.
these questions that he gonna have coming up soon. Right. Right. All right. Yes, that is Miss Doris. Thank you for being Miss Doris. So, you and I talked prior to coming on the air about, you know, empowerment, but also engagement and development. So, give us, we hear the term empowerment, we hear engagement, we hear development, sometimes kind of interchangeably. So kind of
Right.
break all that down for us.
So, and I got this presentation because it's due in 2 weeks. So, like, let me give you like these three definitions. So, as far as being in a youth mentoring state of mind, there's three definitions that are used pretty interchangeably. There's youth development, there's youth engagement, and there's youth empowerment. Now, youth development is like a holistic approach that focuses on creating and developing, appropriate and positive learning atmosphere for young people, maybe helping them develop different skills that they may need and whatnot. Youth engagement is an inclusive and intentional involvement of youth as equal partners in meaningful authentic work, like doing things such as planning, implementation, evaluations. Basically is getting youth as your partners to help serve other youth. That's youth engagement, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the youth development is working on them and teaching them certain skills that they want, right? Or some things that you might feel like they need. The
Mm-hmm.
youth engagement is pulling them in as a partner and helping them serve other young people. But the youth empowerment is the process in which you teach young people and children to take control of their lives.
Mm.
They do this by addressing their own situations. Some of the presentations I have developed for Girls to Divas and She Academy and Alpha Education, and and even some of my youth at the church is like rebuking self-sabotage,
Mm.
self-love empowerment, relationship empowerment. These are a couple different series that I have created. Some of the SWAT things I did with kids was developing habits and teaching why developing habits make you into an incredible leader, because
Mm.
it's all about your routine. You don't just have overnight success. What you do is you build a routine that allows you to have success no matter what.
So we got a question on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
McKinley wants to know, how do you develop youth without being corny?
You can't. You can't. That's a part of the process, man. It's trial and error. You figure out, what is it? Marco Polo, red light, green light. You got to get to know kids. Like some kids you'll be their flavor, other kids you won't be their flavor initially. But um, young people. I pulled down a picture. I had a picture of a kid behind me. For the first 4 years, I won't say his name. He's doing big things in New York now. But for the first 4 years as a statewide coordinator, he did not like me.
Mm.
For the love of God, he did not like me. He tested me. He did everything he could, I guess, to drive me away or make me go crazy. But by thanks be to God, I kept praying and I kept, asking God to make me a better leader and help me relate and help me connect. And so, if you're a mentor, I hope you keep that in your prayer. And
Mm.
eventually, there was a moment where he got sad about something, and the whole group saw it, and no one wanted to help him. And I
Mm.
went and spoke to him, and he was crying. And I had a man-to-man talk with him. I said, "Hey, what's going on?" He says, "I feel like a failure." And I told him, I was like, "Are you serious?" He was like, "Yes." And I said, "Check this out. Do you think do you think they feel like you're a failure?" He said, "No, sir." "Do you think I feel like you're a failure?" He said, "No, sir." I said, "Son, I need you to get it together. I need you to wipe these tears, and I need you to come back with a big smile, because you're not a failure. You're a leader. You are an elected leader. They elected you vice president. I'm sorry you did not win president this year, but they care about you and they need you. They
Mm.
do not need you in this condition right now." And I tell you what, after that conversation, and I think about it all the time. That's why I keep that picture. It's like every time I needed something, he would pop up.
Mm.
I got a Mr. Gammage. Whenever I went to do something, we used to go on trips to the woods, the group, and he'd be like, "Oh, me and Mr. Gammage going to do it. It's tradition." Da, 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 da.
Mm.
And what I noticed is kids will test you
Mm.
to see if you're authentic,
Yeah.
because they've been lied to so many times. I'm sorry, I ain't trying to preach. They've been lied to so many times in the past.
Mm.
They've been tricked and hoodwinked. I'm not trying to touch on anybody's trauma right now. they've been told that somebody was going to come, but they didn't show up, right? But when they see you show up all the time, they want to see what's going to make this person stop, or what's going to make this person act different or out of character. But if you just keep on thinking about God is my strength, you can see it in the picture right there. If you keep on thinking
Mm,
about God and think about why you're there and the mission that you're there to do, I tell you, you will knock down those barriers and have those people trusting you and believing in you. And then they'll be able to see and receive your words differently. They'll begin to see that you're not against them, but you're really for them. So
mm,
there's no way that you can't be corny. You got to be prepared to be corny. You got to be prepared to do. I got a handshake with every one of my kids at church. You got to be ready to bob with it, dance with it, juke with it, whatever. You got to be able to throw some swag and get on their level, because that's what they want. And when you get on their level, you'll be able to reel them in and keep them tight. Because guess what? Them drug dealers are still out there. Those
mm,
whoever you want to keep them away from are still out there.
that
So make
part.
sure that you're their hero, and they'll keep on trusting you to be their hero.
Yes. Look, they are chiming in. That's good, sir. Right? Facts on facts. Miss Dora said, "You preaching." Listen, that's just what it is. They want to see what's that saying? No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take that from you.
Originator. I'm just repeating. Have at it. Don't quote me though. Kendra, Dr. K, she teaches at FAMU. She said I use TikTok memes, and she does, and
Hmm.
they are hilarious. So yeah, that I mean that's how she reaches the population. You gotta find out what it is, what you can do, what you can use to reach them.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So we talked engagement, development, uh, empowerment. Why is there, well, let me ask you this. Is there a formula to all of that? Like a
It's a
order or, you know, or
right.
is it do simultaneously?
So with the definitions that I just named,
Mm-hmm.
so it just depends on what system you're in.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working with the state, it was youth empowerment on the banner, but really is youth engagement. It's really, working with the youth as partners. And it's a little bit of youth empowerment,
Okay.
because it's like, not every person is trying to reach every kid. Some people are just trying to do their jobs. And
Gotcha.
so that's the difference between the awesome coordinators and the awesome mentors versus the okay and good and average.
Mm-hmm.
The average does the average, the extraordinary does extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, but that's the state. As far as working with after school programs, it's a little bit different. Like, with Girls to Divas, the Alpha Educational Leadership Foundation, and what is it, She Academy. It's more so youth development and youth empowerment, and you really can't take those two apart, because the youth development part is, okay, we're going to have this discussion,
Mm-hmm.
and this discussion is meant to create that conversation with you about, what do I need to work on,
Mm-hmm.
what do I need to be better in, where is my spark, where's my fire, where's my passion, right? And we create these presentations to have that conversation. But then the empowerment is, once we begin to have that conversation, now we're not only working on you, but telling you, okay, what you haven't worked on yet, you can begin working on that now. Because guess what? Now you see the power within you.
Yes, no, great points. Dr. K said, yep. So, I would imagine she's agreeing that the things that you're saying are absolutely true and valid, and things that she uses. Sister Abanichi said, how can we bring balance to the precious children suffer from competition in school and athletics, the constant drive to be first?
Oh, we can relate.
Mm,
That's what we can do, because even us as adults, good Lord, just got done with vacation Bible school. So one of the topics, we talked about obedience and we talked about discipline. And so, one of the questions that I had with the class, with the young adults and teenagers, I said, hey, what stops you from carrying out your daily obedience or your daily discipline, right? And some people pause, and then, like, you got to work the room and say, okay, come on, let's be for real. because when we be for real, then we can get empowered. So like, what is it? The cell phone? Is it being on IG? Is it being on TikTok? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. And so now you begin to have that conversation about, you can do that and still do this other stuff. And then what do we have there? A conversation about time management and
Mm-hmm.
decision making.
Yeah.
And see, and this conversation is beginning to like stem back to some of the central points that we started with. Youth empowerment is creating that conversation and then teaching them the power that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then as mentors, when we be real, we can tell them as adults, like, look, we have a lot to juggle as well,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to prioritize. You have to sit down and see the meaning and value in everything. So as far as athletics, I got some kids that play football and basketball and track and soccer and whatnot. So guess what? I support them. I got some kids in band too. I'm gonna show up to some band meets. Guess what? To show them that, hey, their youth pastor and their mentor is supporting them. Because if we just only care about people sitting down at our table, they're gonna feel like this person doesn't sit down at my table at
Mm-hmm.
all. And the
Mm-hmm.
one thing I know about community partnerships and community building, community mobilization, and community engagement, those four definitions, those four words, the quickest way to get somebody to sit down at your table is to get up and go sit at their table.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Very, very true. Dr. K said model learning, unlearning processes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So that what I call deprogramming and reprogramming.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You mentioned something about the adult that the mentor, adult mentor, support and how important that is. And so I took actually it's been about a year ago to this month, I took a youth mental health first aid training workshop
Mm-hmm.
or training rather. And they said like the number one thing that causes youth not to go through with death by suicide is having a trusted adult in their life that they can talk to.
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing is having a trusted adult that they can talk to.
Yes.
So we may very well be the adults that are on the live, um, that connection to cause a young person not to want to die by suicide. I'm
Our
gonna just,
words
I'm gonna
echo.
just, I'm gonna just let that marinate for a minute. I hope y'all got that. The adults that are on this live, you may be um, that person for a young person that encourages them not to die by suicide.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have an important role. We all have an important role as mentors, as adults, for the young people. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
People don't always remember what you say, but people always remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
And and I hope this is not just my story, but it takes a village
Mm-hmm.
for each one of us to get where we are. And if we take the time to remember when we're in those stages and ages as them, we can remember quite a few different voices along the way. We can remember maybe it was an uncle that was a doctor that told us to sit down and just go to school because everything out there is going to be there when you get out of school.
Mm-hmm.
It could be someone telling us, never give up on your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, to me, it's my father. My father used to tell me all the time. He said, "Son, if they don't give you a way, you make a way."
Mm.
My stepfather told me, like when I graduated with my master's, he said, "Son, it's time for you to stop wavering and plant your feet
Mm.
and watch things move around you."
Mm-hmm.
And and it's just a couple of phrases. It's and sometimes as a youth mentor, we I'm just speaking for me, and I hope that other people resonate with this. Sometimes you want to have that barrier. Sometimes you feel like I don't want to go too far. I don't want to feel like I'm their mama or their daddy or whatever. But you know what? Sometimes you need to say that thing that's burning on your heart to say
Mm-hmm.
because that child is in your face for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these children, they want tough love.
Yep.
and they need tough love. And the
Mm,
reason why they're in your face and they're begging you for is because they admire something about you.
mhm,
And so, and one thing I said yesterday in my sermon, because I lost a dear friend of mine's like 2 weeks ago. He
mm.
passed away. And so mental health is real, y'all.
Yeah, it is.
Um, you know, I said yesterday in my sermon, while you're here on this earth, don't waste your time. Plant all the seeds that you can plant in the earth before you got to go back in the earth.
Mhm,
And, when you plant seeds, it could be a compliment. It could be, making time to pray for somebody. It could be making time to just listen to somebody. The
yeah.
power of listening is more powerful than speaking sometimes
Mhm. Hold
because
the space for people.
it makes people feel so important.
Mhm,
And then, how you just said that trusted person, sometimes that trusted person wins the trust right there just by listening. Because guess what? Sometimes mama and daddy are not listening.
mhm.
And so I'm gonna just leave it right there.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you for sharing that. I see my sister Latanya, who is she has a nonprofit that she works with youth. She mentors youth. She's in the Atlanta area. Thank you
Mhm.
for being on here. Uh, Sister Ebonice said accountability and responsibility. And Lakarsha said, "Oh yes, all right." So McKinley wants to know, how do you deal with kids' worldview, attention spans being so different?
Mm. Um, I mean, you might need to go a little bit more in depth. Like you might need to elaborate a little bit more, McKinley, because I think that you're really trying to ask a direct question. Um, I say be open minded, be relatable. I have quite a few different friends that are teachers.
Hmm.
So, they have different views from a lot of their students because they deal with a lot of personalities.
Right.
But what they never do is they never push their opinion onto their student.
Mm.
And so even right now, you're making me think of a quote that one parent told me after watching me work with her son. She said, "Good teachers sh- um tell you what no, they show you where to look at, but they don't tell you what to see.
Mm.
Good teachers show you where to look at, but they don't tell you what to see."
Mm.
And so, we and if we're talking about these different, thoughts and whatnot and whatnot, okay, treat like a doctor and all these different patients. Touch base with every one of them. The public health aspect is the population medicine, so you're talking to the whole class, of course, right? But
Mm.
then the bedside manner aspect is building that relationship with each individual and helping them realize their potential and cure some of what's causing them to feel hurt. And I keep thinking about Patch Adams right now for some reason.
Okay.
Because you remember in the movie when he was going around playing doctor at first, like, in the house, and he came across this elderly man, and he was like, the elderly man was like, look at, like, see me. And like he kept looking at the charts. He's like, I am seeing you. He's like, no, 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 see me. So eventually he knocked the charts out the way,
Put
and
your eyes on me.
he said, now you're doing it.
Hmm.
And so, one of the ways to do that is like how we just said, create that relationship.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I have some good friends. I have Sylvester Peck Jr. He's one of my best friends. He's a baseball coach now at FAMU High. Me and him graduated from FAMU High together, and he sees me doing all this work, and he says, "Bro, I'm so proud of you." He's like, "It feels therapeutic, doesn't it?" I'm like, "Yes, it does." Because when you're working with these kids, you don't know the impact that you're making.
Right.
But it's like you just have to trust and believe, and you have to have a mission and hope on your heart. So, one thing about being a teacher and being a mentor, you have to feed yourself
Yeah.
positivity all the time. You have to keep your spirit high.
Yeah.
You have to be pushing towards that tomorrow that you're telling them that they can walk towards as well.
Indeed.
You cannot be empty.
That's right.
Mm,
he,
mm,
he done got full. All right. So hold on. Sister Ebonice said we are missing the village. People in the village have been corrupted. How does the community come together to bridge the gap between adults and children?
mhm. So we need to and thank you for saying that.
Mhm.
People in the village, yes, have been I don't want to say corrupted, a better word, misguided,
Mm,
because there's some good in everybody. There's some love in everybody, but if we don't show them love or teach them love, they can't unlock that love that's stored up within them.
mhm.
And so, okay, one thing we gotta do is we gotta get back to being who we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's how we change the community. So even at my church right now, First Missionary Baptist Church, what we're doing right now, we're building up our men's ministry, we're building up our media ministry, because we see how important it is to reach people on Facebook, Zoom, and all these different things right now.
Mhm.
So we're building up the men's ministry because we want men to get back to being men and lead like men are supposed to lead. And we realize that when we get men within the church, the family is will follow if that man is living upright and upbeat. So we
Mhm.
need to get people back in position that they're supposed to be in. And then we need to also realize our mission, our identity. So one thing, if your church does not have a mission statement on it, I advise you to get a mission statement. The mission statement at First Missionary Baptist Church is empowered by Christ to change the community. So whenever we feel like we getting off track, let's look back at the mission now and
Mhm.
say, okay, what are we supposed to do that lines up with the mission? And see, when we start to get back to the mission, we can begin to act like what? Family. We can begin to act like what? Community. We can begin to act like what? Church. And when
Mhm.
we get back to acting like what we're supposed to, that's all lined up. Boom, boom, boom. And it creates a what? A domino effect. So if you want your village to get back to acting like a village, I'm gonna quote a singer that's not on my back wall. There's Luther and there's Anita Baker, but Michael Jackson says first you got to start with the man or the woman in the mirror,
Indeed.
and then we can go ahead and start recruiting other people to do it. But
Indeed.
so after that, sit down, have a discussion, have meetings, make this a priority. Don't just talk about it, write it down, set an agenda, set a schedule, do some power mapping. This is where I teach the kids too. See
Mhm.
who you got at the table and see who you don't have at the table. Figure out how to get them at the table and tell them how this is going to benefit them as well.
Indeed.
And then when we get those solid people, those people who are serious, just like this conversation right here,
Mhm.
more serious people are gonna come rolling in.
Indeed. So, her follow up, Sister Abanichi said, "Can we open the doors of the churches Monday through Friday, providing assistance to mothers and children as daycare or after school care?"
So what I use the church as an example, as a vehicle. Now there are other agencies out there that may be able to do some of the things that she's talking about. Maybe there's some neighborhood action community centers that you can partner with. Maybe
Mhm.
there's some other resources out there. Maybe there's the community clinics or whatever. But when you begin to come up with a plan and become start to work on the details and the actions, and you align yourself with the people that have the same vision and mission that you got, that's
Mhm.
partnership building. It doesn't necessarily have to be the church. It can be a pharmacy. If you begin to work with them and identify how y'all can work together to make a difference, it can happen. Because I just left Jack McLean Park, and what I noticed is what's the church called? Family Worship and Praise Center. They're
Mhm.
actually giving out summer dinners and summer lunches. And I'm
Mhm.
like, wow. And you're like, I did not know this was possible, but they have a menu lined out for every day. I don't know the sister's name, but it actually says Monday through
Yeah.
Friday. It actually says Monday through Friday, but they're working with the community center to reach these kids and feed these people. And also, we got to get out here in the community. We just can't sit up here mad at the house like, okay, my community is not doing nothing. Get out in the community, because you know what? While I'm at Jack McLean Park, you can meet with me. Yes, ma'am. While I'm
Mhm.
at Jack McLean Park, guess who I bump into sometimes? Pastor R.B. Holmes here in Tallahassee, and
Mhm.
and Michael Fagan, Minister Michael Fagan. So you don't reach nobody sitting down. And I
Right.
got to go back to my sermon. You don't get the calling and the mission and purpose sitting at your house being still. Baby, when you get out into that community, just like Moses, the Red Sea, doors, opportunity, handouts, communication, conversations are going to be created. And
Indeed.
just like this beautiful sister said in front of you, she met me out in the community. She kept seeing me, smiling, of course, taking pictures with her. And along the way, guess what? We connected to
Right.
do this conversation.
Indeed, indeed. So, Dr. K, and thank you for that. Dr. K said there are many churches doing community building. Maybe we need to create what we don't see.
Amen.
Agreed. And she also said we have to be student centered. We can't do it with a mixed mindset, though. You have to have hope and an expectation for change.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is key, key, key. All right. My sister Talithia is on here. Thank you for being here. She says, everybody's responsibility. You are right, brother. All right. It's village work, village work, village work. Sister Ebony said, thank you so much for all that you do. And we got Princess on with us. She said, good evening. Oh, beautiful Nicole, everybody. Thank you, Princess. All right. So our time is up. I told you the time was going to go fast. So I need you, brother LJ, either one,
Yes.
to give us some closing remarks and then tell the people how they can connect with you. Hold on, before we do that, Johnny, what is this '06? What is that all about?
You see that
Oh,
backpack? You see
okay,
that back?
gotcha. He had that up early. I was like, I don't know what it is.
All
Okay,
love, good brother. All love.
gotcha. All right. We getting comments before I even ask. Y'all already chiming in. Great discussion. Thank you. All right, so come on, LJ, closing remarks and tell people how they can connect with you.
Look, I actually want to connect with a few people. Dr. Mitchell, let's get up. Let's talk. Just like how she said in the comments, we have to build what we see is missing.
Mm-hmm.
And and like how I just said, with the power mapping, let's write that word down, power mapping.
Mm,
Like let's begin to see what do we want and who do we need at the table and who do we already have at the table. And
yes.
let's begin to create that vision, because guess what? If you're doing something that's going to benefit these kids in the community, who can say no? Who can say no? And that might be the part two conversation, but who can say no? If you're trying to help their kid achieve their dreams, if you're trying to help them, if you want a better tomorrow, and just like how I said, if you're tired of the politicians on the TV, create the politician in your house.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can reach me at the public health preacher at IG. She's gonna post it up in a second. You can reach me at LaDarius Gammage at gmail.com or preachlg at gmail.com. And if you really want to connect a little bit more, you can find me on Facebook at LJ Gammage. And thank you so much, Nicole, for this opportunity. Thank you so much, y'all.
You are so very welcome. This has been awesome. If you all have found this to be beneficial, let us know in the comments with a comment or an emoji reflecting that. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Quay, I missed the good talk. Yes, Shaquaylin, you did, but we glad that you are on for the last few minutes. So you got several shouts out tonight, Quay. You got several shouts out. All right. Let's see. Prince says, I will catch the replay. Appreciate you. Talithia, I'm waiting on Dr. K to teach these babies how to write for real. She is the best. Indeed, she is. Yes, we need them that writing lab.
Yes.
Amazing convo. Well needed. Indeed. Tallahassee over. Thank you for the conversation.
Yes.
My pleasure, my sister. McKinley, he got keys. What is that? He got the keys. You
He
got the
got
keys.
he got everything he needed. That's what
Got
he's
everything you
saying.
need. Oh, okay, got it. Cool. I was looking for the jewels, like all
The
of that.
keys to success. He got the keys to
Okay.
success.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I'm gonna have to use that one. Great job, Kima. Thank you. Karsha, amazing conversation. Kiosha,
Mhm.
yes. Denise, thank you. Dr. Penn, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. I know I tagged some of y'all late, but I appreciate y'all being on here. I appreciate y'all coming because we don't know y'all on here if y'all don't say nothing. So thank you, Miss Darling. Appreciate you so much. We really, really do. Yeah, so we may have to do a part two, like you said, because there's still much more to this. So
I'm ready when you're ready.
okay, wonderful. Well, y'all, please send LJ some love and some positive vibes and prayers as he prepares for his dissertation in this good doctorate PhD. He gonna be Dr. Gammage in a minute. Right. So y'all please send some positive vibes and prayers his way as he goes through that process. I want to thank you again for being here. Thank you, our viewers, for the great conversation, the questions that were asked. And Mom said, very beneficial. Come back. Wonderful. That's a good sign. Dr. B, respect family, keep the conversation going. Wonderful. Thank you for the comment. And thank y'all for tuning in. For those of you who may be new to the platform, of course, I got to invite you to subscribe to the Conversations with Nicole YouTube channel. We are here Mondays and Wednesdays, 8:30 p.m. The focus is on mental health and wellness in Black and Brown communities, mostly with clinicians of color, just having these conversations that we need to have. Again, July is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and we want to make sure that our people are not suffering in silence. There are resources out there that folks can utilize. Here in Tallahassee, the city of Tallahassee offers free counseling over at the Lincoln Center. FSU has a behavioral health center that you can utilize their services as well. So please get the help you need. You can always call 211. You can always call 988. Call or text 988 if you're in crisis or know someone who is. We don't, again, need to suffer in silence. So please, please, please get the help that you or a loved one or someone that you know may need. All right. So we're getting peace and blessings. You got this, brother. God has you. So a lot of well wishes to you, Dr. Gammage, as you prepare for your dissertation. So again, thank you once again. And we hope to see you all again on a broadcast. In the comments. Oh, Sheila just joined us. She said, perfect. Thank you, Nicole, for your successful dissertation defense. So prayers up for you, Dr. LJ. All right. So they're sending you lots of love, which is
Thank you.
awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, good people. We will catch y'all next time. Peace.